So, good morning, everybody. Hello, Thomas. Thank you for joining. This is the first in our series of the scaling sessions by the Codest. So, today's session, we're going to focus on something that a lot of people are grappling with right now, or at least thinking about, or trying to do, or not understanding where they should go, which is AI, automation, and how that fits into kind of real world fintech and fast scaling SaaS environments. So today we're going to really try and focus on execution. So not to use an AI word, but no hype. AI, ChatGPT didn't write this for me. I'm kind of reading / freestyling on my own here. So what's working, what isn't, and how people are actually kind of getting real results from AI without introducing risk, and how they're staying compliant as a result. So that's kind of the synopsis really. Today we've got a couple of kind of real, what I would call operators in the space. So we're going to try and get as hands-on as possible and try and add some value to everybody. So a quick bit about me. I'm John and I work for the Codest, and we work with kind of scaling and SaaS, FinTech and SaaS companies. I've been in the game for about 17 years now, across software development, modernizing legacy systems. I've done lots of consulting around IT, and now I work with kind of fintechs and scaling companies to help implement product-driven senior engineers. That's kind of what we do and what I do now. And so we help kind of scaling teams as they kind of raise or as they grow. We help embed senior engineers. So today's all about kind of using AI to improve execution and do things better. And there's two great people that we have joining us. Hi, guys. First off, we have Gustaf Strauss. Gustaf is the co-founder and CTO at Bright Education, and they are building practical user-facing AI for students. I'm just giving a top level on these guys because I'm going to let them introduce themselves in a second before we get into the fireside. So he operates fast-moving early-stage environment. Speed matters, adoption, user behavior matter even more. So he brings kind of strong operator mindset, as we discussed, and he's right at the core of kind of using AI in this sort of slightly more early stage products, and how he's kind of scaling that team and using AI to do that. The other fantastic guest that we have today is Armenak, Mayalian, and he is CTO and co-founder of Reflexivity, and they are a Series B fintech based out of London and NYC. Armenak is a serious operator bringing experience in regulated environments. I'm going to let these guys now, seeing as I'm talking about you, Armenak, why don't you just give us a little 2-second overview of yourself, and then we'll kind of get into the Q&A.
Sure, definitely. Thanks for having us, John. And
thank you for being here.
Thank you. So Armenak Mayalian, repeat entrepreneur, built several different startups, been in the fintech industry for a decade now. Reflexivity is an AI-powered platform that uses a knowledge graph and the reasoning engine to connect dots across fundamental macro data. What does that mean? We give investors investment insights to tell them where the market is today, but also where to go tomorrow.
And tell us about the size of your team, Armenak. You're about 50 people strong at the moment, is that correct?
Correct. We're 50 people across New York and London, and a few that are here and there, I would say.
Yeah, and you just mentioned your product team is around 35 people, so yeah, you are.
Engineering 35 across various different pathways, I would say, backend, front-end, QA engineers, or a lot of AI and machine learning engineers. We started with AI very early on in the Reflexivity adventure, using traditional machine learning models, a lot of math, and then we evolved with generative AI in order to augment what we do.
Which we'll get onto shortly. So, Gustaf, give a quick intro to yourself.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
thanks for having me. Great to be here. My name is Gustaf. I'm one of the founders of Bright. So Bright is an AI-native learning platform that basically helps students learn more, faster, and retain the information for longer in the higher education market. So we're the biggest learning platform in Sweden, where we try to build AI-driven tools that help students learn, essentially.
Awesome.
We're a team of 10 people based in Sweden. Some of them are in Poland. And yeah, that's basically what we do.
Awesome. And so that's a very quick segue before we get into it, because we've got to talk about today's sponsor of the video, and that is the Codest. And I believe two of those people that you mentioned in Poland are from the Codest. Is that not correct?
That is correct. Great
Yeah,
people.
so the Codest are my company, and we are outcome-driven product engineers, and we work with scaling companies and fintech companies. And we kind of embed senior talent that are outcome-driven and very much kind of come with a product mindset. We were set up, we were founded by kind of product people who exited companies, and they kind of saw a gap in the market of this kind of space of like too many kind of dev shops for hire. And we're not that. Yes, we increase your capacity and that sort of thing, but it's not for the sake of it. We help kind of reduce bottlenecks, modernize systems, and shift software that actually kind of moves your business forward. So it's not kind of monkey say, monkey do attitude. So we are very much trying to add value, and hence why we do these things, because we want to learn as well, and so that we can embed that into what we do. So we're going to the quick running order guide, and for people who are here on the chat, we have a public chat guide, and there is a Q&A session as well. Feel free to kind of chuck questions in there, because we will be having a Q&A at the end where we kind of fire some questions off the bat of the guys. But we're just going to get straight into our chat now, and kind of see how we go. Really, we want to try and get as technical as possible and get deep. So this is a kind of fairly more of a setting the scene question, which I'm going to start with Gustaf, but then we'll move on to Armenak if you've got anything to add. But like, how is kind of AI changing things for you from a kind of inside the team and the product standpoint? So what can you share with us on that point of view?
So I'd say from the team perspective, we see that in general, there is less need for hiring employees since the efficiency and productivity is so increased.
Mm-hmm.
Also, we see that team roles shift. More people become technical and shipping features every day. The learning curve of their technical ability is increasing a lot, meaning that if we onboard somebody and they start with some front-end task pretty quickly, we can also help them get started with the back-end features, etc. From the product perspective, obviously a lot more opportunities in what we can build, both for the end products, which our customers are facing, but also internally. Like if we have obstacles, problems, we now see that we can solve a lot of them using AI in a pretty fast and simple way.
Awesome. And Armenak, I don't know if you had anything that you want to add to that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, for us, we see a lot of benefit as well across the org. Engineers are spending less time, stitching data and more validating assumptions. So now you kind of have it's kind of your like side project which you never get to, but with AI, you are now just reviewing the code. You are an architect more than a coder, and you are there in order to ensure that it has value. Whatever we're assuming, we're validating. We have a strong emphasis on deterministic systems, so testing, observability, and ins and outs on AI are very important. Usually, if you're doing everything manually, these things take second degree of importance. But with AI, everything is done by the agents or the AI assistant. And for us, it's prompting is not a role, so there's no prompt engineer within Reflexivity, but it's a skill that everyone is learning, even on the product side. So it's not just a chat layer on top of what we have. We use AI to contextualize a lot of the information that we have. It's powered by a knowledge graph system that we build and maintain that feeds itself, and is always there to ensure that our AI output is traceable, explainable, and reversible. So we cater for people investing a lot of money on insights from our platform. So having it built in and baked into our product, you must ensure a certain level of trust to it. So inside the org, we've seen much faster iterations, stricter decision gates, and a clear separation between experimentation and what is production level. Yeah. So
Cool. I want to get into kind of the operational side of things actually, just off the back of that, and I want to talk about some actual kind of practical hands-on wins from, say, an automation point of view, and where you've kind of typically seen good results and what they actually were, like how you implemented it from a kind of a technical standpoint, and where you may be hitting walls, and any advice for people on those.
yeah, definitely. Traditionally, we had the R&D team full of ML and AI engineers who did a lot of experiments, maybe did that in Jupyter notebooks, and there was no easy way to validate this with customers.
Mm-hmm.
Nowadays, the research team, we've built a framework for them where we can safely ship things in production, isolate it, turn it on to some friendlies. Gustaf also uses Posthog. Yeah, it's not a sponsor for today's one. But yeah, we turn it on for the friendlies. We get very, very quick feedback. And then if it's positive, we go back to our engineering teams and like, okay, how can this scale? So in internal tooling, we have enabled a lot of the engineers on Cursor primarily, but we haven't enforced it. Some engineers are on Cloud Code, and others are on Juni, I believe it's from JetBrains. But under the hood, everyone is more or less using Claude models. Claude because it's simply the one that works. We do a lot of experiments with some of the new models that come out, and we try. We're open to this. Try to understand whether this can be beneficial. We hit walls when we treat LLMs as domain experts. We're over automating decision making. We're highly regulated. So, our customers are regulated, so we can't just fully shift the decision making on a large language model. And we always have to ensure traceability, so, which is, in terms of AI, it's used to be one of the early issues, the traceability, the trust me bro movement. But we do leverage a lot of RAG. And we do leverage our in-house knowledge to properly contextualize information. And we've built a reasoning engine that allows us to have a deterministic approach to generative AI. Hopefully,
We'll get into some more of this later, but Gustaf, kind of the same question to you, but I think from sort of more of an early stage point of view in terms of how I'm guessing it's helping you to move fast, but like, can you give some practical context around that and the actual practicalities of how you said you still have coders and everything, so it's not just one person sitting there. So how does that work in a practical sense, and where are the gains? And we're not firing developers just yet, so how does that kind of sit into the mix?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, same as the Armenak, we have Cursor is the primary tool that everybody uses. The Cursor bill is quite high every month, but it's the most valuable bill we have at the moment. We're also mainly using the Claude models. However, we find that sometimes switching between Gemini models and other models, if you run into problems, for instance, that can refresh the model memory and help it provide the answer you're looking for or the behavior. In terms of how we practically apply it, for us, we have a lot of previously manual workflows, saying data cleaning, managing incoming feedbacks, so raw feedback data from customer. So we built a lot of workflows essentially, where we use mainly generative AI to process
What would be
that.
one of those workflows? So let's assume that
Yeah.
you're
So
a
take, for
product
instance,
manager at another SaaS company, and what's an example of one of those workflows?
yeah, so I can give two examples. One is that we do a lot of web scraping,
Okay.
getting unstructured documents. Since we're in the edtech sector, we want to know what courses are there and what materials are being used in those courses. However,
Sure.
the structure of each university is different, so we must clean that in a way. And then we build a workflow for cleaning that and getting it to our database in a standardized format automatically. Another example is that we also have books. So we have ebooks on the platform. And we have over like 700 publishers, over 200K books. And for the categories, we want to display clean categories, not too many, not too vague, not too precise.
Sure.
Thus, we have to, we get the raw category, and it's like 2,000 different categories, too much. So we need to condense it down to 50 predefined.
Yeah.
Super opportunity where we implement the Gen AI to do that for us automatically as cron jobs working every night. So basically, we have a separate worker with all our crons running these workflows 24/7. Another, as I said, is the feedback. A lot of raw feedback coming in where we classify it so that we can take action on it without having to do the hideous task of manually classifying it and analyzing it, so we can just then later go in and get an overview of it.
Yeah. Okay. That's cool.
Yeah. So
okay.
And a problem with
kind
like
of they're quite practical and manual driven tasks, right?
previously super manual, very hard to solve programmatically, but thanks to Gen AI, it's super easy to build a workflow that solves the problem.
Yeah, sure. Okay. So actually, we'll kind of move on then into kind of the team structure and kind of AI capability, and I'll stick with you, Gustaf, and from that kind of slightly more early stage, and what we would call AI ready team. What does that look like? How has kind of hiring a team changed? I hear a lot of people talk about like it's the death of the junior engineer, and junior engineers are just no longer a thing, right? Do you see any truth in that? Like, what does a team makeup look like now with sort of AI first and AI ready being part of it?
Yeah, so on the junior dev perspective, as I said earlier, we see that the learning curve of the developers are increasing a lot. So people who can sit more and reason in like architectural questions improve a lot, and which means that they can take more responsibility of those tasks and then augment the code writing to the model. Of course, it's a requirement to have a development workflow that is AI first, meaning if you come to an interview and say that you don't use AI that much to code, it's basically a no, because it's stupid in our opinion. So I'd say that's like the most important question to ask about their workflow for coding, to understand how they work with the models, and also if they're creative and how they're trying to solve the problems using the AI.
Okay. And actually, so because there's also a lot of talk around, and this is the same, I'll put the same question to Armenak now, because a lot of talk around there's no need for developers, and dev shops are dead, and like AI is completely taking everybody's jobs. I like in the smiles, it's good. Now you've got a team of 35 in products, and Gustaf, there's 10 of you now. What are these 35 people doing then if AI is taking everybody's jobs? So I'll go straight to Armenak for that one.
What I'm going to say is going to be a slight repeat of what Gustaf said.
That's fine.
People need to think about what they're doing. Honestly, I wouldn't say that the role of the junior engineer is gone or dead, but the roles generally have shifted and must shift. That's why the hiring shift, that's why who you're looking for and how you interview them, all of that shifts.
Yeah.
In terms of what are they doing? So I don't know about you guys. I used to code a lot very early on, and the coding part of it is the most annoying because when I conceptualize something and I like, this is great, this is going to be working like this, it's going to communicate with that, it's going to send a gRPC call here, and it's going to listen to the message. Yeah, you draw this on the back of a napkin, and you're like, wow, I'm onto something. This is going to be great. And then suddenly you take that and you're like, I need to write it. This portion has been offloaded
Yeah.
to large language models. What are they doing all day? As I said, and this might answer a bit to Smile's question in one of the chats. Like, we conceptualize systems a lot. We have the domain knowledge. We present that to, because it's not one. You used to have one architect, now everyone's an architect, and everyone is also reviewing code heavily and ensuring that this quality does not drift, does not drop, and ensuring that this is something I am, proactively or very happily presenting to this as if it was my own work. Now,
Yeah.
if you just prompt your way into a pull request and you're like, yeah, add some coverage to it, and you don't even read the code, well, it has your name on GitHub.
That was going to be my next question is like, how much can an engineer, quote unquote, trust these LLMs? And is the job of an engineer now just to kind of check the work of an LLM? Because I'm not a coder, but obviously I use AI, and you give it prompts, and then you're like, hang on, no, like that's not what I asked you, and you go back to it and you go, that's wrong, and you go, and then it replies going, you're right. Sorry about that. I did blah blah blah, and you're like,
You're absolutely right, John.
so what the heck is that? So how does that work in a coding context? Because that could have serious implications. No, it's not just a typo at that point.
We did a lot of work with our engineers on explaining to them what is prompting, how do you work with large language models, and we cherry picked 3 different people from the team who are kind of power users, who were power users back then.
Right.
One comes from an engineering background, the second one is from R&D, and then the third one is a product person, non-engineer. And they each went through how they prompt things, what context they give it, and how to better your prompt so that you can, you still have that problematic moment where it just produces garbage.
Yeah.
But it's you can lessen that, and your job is to give the right context, the right inputs. As long-standing tradition says, garbage in, garbage out. So,
right.
Although in this case, sometimes it just whatever you give it is going to be garbage out. But it is our job to ensure the quality. So
yeah. So actually, sorry to cut you off. Is just before I forget that. So then the quality on the Q&A side of things, QA side of things. We're doing the Q&A at the end. So on the QA side of things, are people using AI? And this is a question for both of you. I'll go with Gustaf first. But are people using AI? And then you've got AI checking AI's work. How does that work in a real sense?
So we use GitHub's code reviewer for the pull requests. That is like a great initial screener.
Yeah.
And then, since we're not that big of a team, we don't have a separate unit for QA. However, we really try to. For us, we see a big problem with coding with AI is in terms of the quality of the code may be correct in terms of technically written, but it's not into our standards. in
Yes,
terms of
it's
syntax and all of
technically
that.
correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Which then in the future causes a lot of problems, mixing camel case with snake case and whatever. So if you're not good at reviewing the code and setting standards, that creates issues further along. Big tip there is to use cursor rules. So you have the .rules file where we have defined all of that, which all of the developers use. And as Armenak said, garbage in, garbage out. We can provide the model with our rules and standards, which then generally produce better quality outputs out of the box.
Cool. Yeah, I will. I'll leave that QAA part because that's cool. I was going to put that to you, Armenak, but actually I wanted to touch on a couple of other things and allow time for questions at the end, because I wanted to the next question I have for you, which is a little bit more relevant for you, Armenak, because you guys have been going a little bit longer, albeit you're not a sort of 15-year-old IT company that's been around for forever. But I wanted to talk a little bit about like legacy systems, and so how you are using AI, because some of the people here will be coming from kind of product environments where they've inherited a much older tech stack, or much older code stack, and how are we integrating AI into that without kind of creating fragility or slowing down development. What's your experience with that, if any, or what would your advice be with that in terms of kind of moving tech debt and shifting the needle on that front?
Yeah, I mean, for us, we use the same rules as, not with just legacy systems, but even with our systems, which we not legacy, Michael. But AI is loosely coupled, easily removable. We treat it as an asynchronous service. It's, it may fail because you breach your token limit. It may fail because you've timed out waiting for a response. It's very loosely coupled. It is asynchronous. Even if you're hitting it with an HTTP or gRPC endpoint, the response is, yes, I got a new request. Here's an identifier. Come back shortly. Otherwise, we use a lot of messaging queues, specifically NOTs, because you have the subscriber model, which you can listen for the response that may take a while or not. We spend a lot of time on observability, because you really need to understand what's happening, and it also helps a lot in building your golden test cases, so that when things evolve, even within AI, sometimes you don't change anything, but the underlying model changes from the provider. You still need to understand if this is a you problem, an integration problem, is it this system, or is it the AI itself? Try to have, when possible, deterministic fallbacks when AI fails. Sometimes a retry might not help. And then clear contacts between core systems and AI that are fully monitored at all times. So it's not necessary. So again, this has nothing to do with legacy systems or things you've inherited, but don't couple it. Like just generally don't couple it. If removing AI breaks your system, maybe you've integrated it the wrong way. But this, take it with a pinch of salt, that a lot of systems will break if you remove AI.
Actually, I'm gonna stick with you because it's sort of loosely connected, but I wanted to talk about compliance and how actually that in a regulated environment like the fintech, like how that kind of works with building AI features, and what are the practical implications of that around, like you say. So if an AI model changes or breaks or whatever, how does that work in a fintech environment, on a heavily regulated environment? what do you have to look out for there, and how does that all work?
So outside of the usual acronyms that are out there, customers specifically within investment and fintech are looking to be power users, so not lose any of the workflows they currently do. So they expect AI responses to be traceable, explainable, and allow them to, once they get audited, be like, well, this is the source. Here's the response. Everything is traceable, and it's not just a summary, and it's from.
Mm-hmm.
We also give a lot of our users the ability to control the sources.
Yeah.
So our tool by default has everything turned on, so kind of like your ChatGPT, if you enable web search or not. But think of it as, I want to look into filings, I want to run, earnings analysis. So all these different features allow users to leverage AI, keeping the control, keeping a human in the loop by design, allowing them to say, this information comes from there, this is backed by this data set, and then version everything to the point where it's really annoying, so that you can very easily roll back and determine whether this was something you've done or something the model has done. And really,
When you say really annoying, how often would that be then?
I would say any change must be versioned for the simple reason is that some people are like, but this doesn't change anything to the contract of the API. We're like, yes, but it changes the behavior.
Right.
And if we have full observability and full monitoring, and then the infrastructure team suddenly start saying, well, we are burning our air capacity, or our SLOs are dropping even a basis point, we're like, okay, where is this coming from? And then it's very easy to see that, okay, we put out a new version, and since then we have 0.1% more.
Great.
Is that something we're okay with? That we take a decision. If we're not okay with, we roll back and then look into what. So,
Yeah, that's super helpful. So we're going to just move on. We're going to segue slightly into like the actual kind of architecture of the systems and sort of what a sort of realistic AI stack looks like. And we'll go with you, Gustaf, to start with. So like internal models, external APIs, hybrid. What does a typical AI stack look like to get the most out of kind of automation and maximize your productivity?
I'd say external APIs.
Mm-hmm.
Generally, due to that, it's the implementation time is a lot faster. It's easier to switch. There's no technical depth if you want to move on later. So we're mainly using that.
Mm-hmm.
Also, you can find quite good credit systems with the foundation models, and the cost is not significant.
Yeah.
For us, we're seeing that in order to improve the output of our products, which are AI-driven, it's not a matter of fine-tuning and doing those kind of fancier stuff. It's rather to talk to the users to understand their expected behavior of the model versus how it behaves and adapt to that, trying to build a more reliable platform, write better prompts, prepare data better to the model. So that's where we're focusing more of our time.
Yeah.
Basically what we're sending to the model.
Cool.
I'd say.
Okay, we could have a question here from Thomas, which is kind of Copilot or Claude and why, and also building front panels for users. I'm not entirely sure what that means, but Copilot or Claude essentially, and why, or what tools and why.
So we're using the Claude models, as we said earlier, primarily. Working with it in Cursor. Tried Claude Code. but essentially, I've gotten a really good workflow in Cursor, which I like. I'm using I think it's called like editor view. So it's mainly the chat on the side. They also have the full agentic view, but I like to have a bit more control of what's happening. And
Explain that to people. That's interesting. Editor view versus the agentic view.
yeah, so basically, normally I'm working with a bit more complex problems. So not just a minor front-end bug or whatever, because those things you can pretty easily just instruct an agent within Cursor to do. And I've also tried to have like 5 agents simultaneously working on different issues. But if you're working on something more complex, myself, I need to have I need to be in it to have the mental space of what we're doing, so I can think also. And if I'm constantly switching context between different problems, you cannot really think and
would
be
that
with
be
the
the
model.
difference of, say, a developer using AI versus a non-technical vibe coder using AI? Is that correct, or have I got that wrong?
Yeah, maybe if you have been like writing code before using AI yourself, you rather want to have this sort of control and read the actual code. Rather, if you are non-technical, just having the chat UI and having it do everything in the background is great. And I saw that like last week or some weeks ago, Cursor launched the web UI, where it's basically Figma launching. I tried it yesterday. It's pretty cool. But so you have the Figma panel where you can adjust everything. Once you're done, it sends basically a prompt to the agent that is implementing the fixes.
But then, okay, so then let's talk about the kind of the scalability of a product that's built using that, and where do we think, how far can a non-technical person get with that, and then at what point does a developer need to step in? And then let's say you start from ground zero and you use the vibe coding to build a product from ground zero. How far can I get, or are you just asking for trouble at that point?
I have a funny experience of actually my father. He's using Lovable a lot. And then that means he's calling me all the time saying, I ran into this problem. Why is it not doing that? Or why is it not giving me the correct things? So I'd say that you run into problems, but if you have the kind of mindset of wanting to learn or understand architecture and those kind of things, having the agent teach you simultaneously can actually help you overcome some of the issues you will face in sort of the vibe coding zero technical experience part. But definitely at some point, as complexity increases, you will have to have some kind of developer experience.
Yeah, and I want to talk about that point, and I'm going to flip it across to Armenak actually, because I don't think you mentioned this at the start. This was pre when you did your intro, but this was pre whilst we were just having a chat offline. You mentioned the number of transactions that you're processing. Remind me of what that was. On Reflexivity, not you guys are doing a massive number of what was it?
We do burn a lot of tokens for various different workloads.
No, not the tokens, but you as a business, Reflexivity. What number of transactions or orders or whatever it is that are you processing for your end users?
So on the structured data side, we process a few million time series daily. So series that go back, some of them over 100 years as well. But also during earnings season, we're very active. Infrastructure is doing fireworks, basically going through earnings reports, transcripts, news, and marrying the structured and unstructured data sets. Our workflows are we try to use N8N for those who know N8N to structure some of our workflows, but quickly we hit a bunch of limits. So we built a workflow engine internally that supports it has maybe 10% of the features of n8n, but it does cater for our specific use cases.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of time-bound, output-bound, and a lot of separated workflows to meet at some point.
Yeah.
But again, in terms of tokens, where you can go up to almost 100,000 tokens per second, which is quite massive. And that, I think, could be a podcast in itself. Is how do you actually deal with this? Can the off-the-shelf, the external models just work?
Well, there you go. That's a build versus buy discussion, and yeah, that's like you say, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we have broken down a lot of our AI usage, and we have to shift a lot of workloads to internal, more specialized, much smaller models that, from a cost perspective and speed perspective, can cater for those specific needs. But in terms of our development workflow, again, we don't really enforce a specific model on anyone, but however, we do enforce that, okay, you do leverage AI, you have to leverage AI.
Mm-hmm.
It's very important that you are responsible for your output, and the speed at which and the quality at which you perform. And then, just on the last question from Ismail on, the highly technical product managers, or John, you call them vibe coders. For us, it's very beneficial. We built a framework that even the chief product officer vibe coded a feature. We shipped it into production, turned it on for 3 users, got very positive feedback, and we're like, okay, this is good. We cannot turn it on for everyone. We hand it over to the engineers.
Yeah.
So we put it to its limit until it can no longer work. A lot of times it doesn't integrate well with existing systems, but that's fine. You're validating the idea, not that it works well with the rest of the system. That's how we think about most of our work. We really need to validate with the customer what they want. They're paying a lot of money, and we want them to continue paying a lot of money, and we want them to extract as much value as they can. So as soon as
so AI hasn't changed that core principle, which has been a core principle of building product for ever, essentially, and so it hasn't kind of changed that. It's just perhaps enabled people to implement your learnings quicker. Would that be a fair assumption?
Yeah, I mean, for us, AI didn't make us faster by being smarter. It really made us faster by removing friction.
Mm-hmm.
We so streamlined. Context is now everywhere, but it's also accessible by everyone within. I love MCPs because you can suddenly plug in all the different tools that you hate, like Jira, Notion, and you're like, you know what? I don't want to deal with the tooling side of things. I know that there is relevant information here, and I'll get it. I'll get it through the interface I want, how I want it. And there's no longer this big, say, frustration of I need to go find this thing in Jira or Confluence, or maybe it's in Notion, or you know what? It's probably in that Google Drive doc. Someone Googles it. I don't remember. No one knows.
But this is a big thing, and it's a slightly different topic. Again, more of it's a separate webinar, but that kind of AI in larger organizations, where data heavy organizations, that's more of a kind of digital transformation piece and everything, but like that kind of places where AI sits at various different places across an organization. It might not even be in a technical context. It could just be like a pure, you're going to have law firms and people like that where you've got documents and data stored in so many different places, and like AI is completely transforming that. But I'm segueing, but yeah, it's interesting. So,
We do see it with a lot of our customers. A lot of
uh-huh.
our customers are like, this is great. I have research on SharePoint.
Right.
Can you do something about it?
Yeah.
We're like, wow, some people still use SharePoint. Like, wow. I mean, it took me back 20 years when I heard that. I was like, sure,
Yeah.
we'll get it.
And there you go. But there, because it's once if you're a large enough organization and that's the way you've always done it, then it becomes very difficult to you're shifting a huge beast, and so that then becomes problematic. So, like I said, that's a topic for another discussion. But yeah, good. We're always learning. Quick question here from Tim, and I'll throw this at Gustaf. For companies with kind of low data maturity, like what's the kind of right starting point for AI, and what is a good use case for that? And what are we using AI for from that point of view? So I guess in your context, it could be, for instance, like when we talk about kind of user data or user behavior, or it could be something like that, where at the earlier stage and we're just still learning, like how are we using AI and when does it start to become relevant?
Yeah, so I'm a big advocate for setting up tracking to collect the data. And then we talked about it earlier with post-hog. So
Yeah.
that's a big workflow for us where we are collecting user behaviors, running experiments with feature flags to basically make data-driven decisions on what moves the metric in the right decisions or not. Usually we try to build something super simple, ship it. Maybe it's kind of dumb code that it's not doing the full automation work for maybe the customer. However, it proves the point. And if we can see a shift in the customer behavior towards what we want, then we build the full scale solution. In terms of internally, I don't know really. As I said, starting to collect the data you need and not also collecting garbage data, because if you set up too much tracking, everything becomes a noise and you can't make any good decisions of it. So ensure what you track is essential and have a clear purpose of what metric is this event connected to.
And I guess that's where a good sort of product-minded person actually steps in, because like there is such a thing. The customer isn't always right when it comes to these sort of things, and you can't just change your product based on like one requirement and that sort of thing. You've got to take there has to be a human layer of product mindseted judgment on top of this, right?
Definitely. And to see that for us, okay, if it's user feedback coming in, we have to have a certain threshold of the amount of users that are experiencing this pain, or if it's just noise.
Yeah.
And then in terms of running these experiments, we have to have enough data to know, because as you said, people are, their behavior is pretty irrational. So what they say, they don't do. And there we find that using post-hog and those kind of analytics platforms to track and see what they do is more valuable than sometimes asking them what they will do or what they want.
Right. Cool. I think did we cover the question about for Ms. Molly about dealing with AI drift and long-term consistency on coding? I know you sort of touched on it a little bit, Armenak, but I'm not sure if we completely covered that off. So we'll hit that one again, and then we'll just do some closing comments from both of you. So, how do you deal with AI drift or long-term consistency in coding? We know agent instructions help a lot, but doesn't fully solve the problem. Throw that at you, Armenak.
Yeah, as I said, we are now all architects. We are all code reviewers. We are accountable and responsible for the output. So if if I code something with a pull request, it's my name on it. It's not Claude or Gemini. Codest doesn't matter. My name on it. I'm responsible and accountable to making sure that it's aligned with the standards that is part of that group of people who set those, and ensure that the quality is is there. I mean, it's it's as good as we make it. And if you just blindly vibe code and push to production, then good luck.
Yeah.
That's,
I have a I have a practical tip regarding this in terms of the
Please.
workflow.
Yeah, we like this.
So previously, I used to ask the model to create a markdown file with a plan of the implementation for a task. Then, luckily, Cursor introduced the plan mode of the agent. Thankfully, that it's exactly the same thing, where it basically analyzes task, the relevant files, which I also give the context to, and then creates a plan for the implementation. And usually I find myself iterating on that plan quite a lot to find something that is aligned with our standards in terms of quality and the outputs. So sometimes, the complexity rises faster than the amounts of feature you ship. So it's really important to keep it simple. And I find that iterating with the agent over the plan that it creates before is a super good workflow.
No, that's awesome. Well, it's the thinking portion has not been replaced by it. So it's still on you to iterate on that. Yes, leverage as much as you can the AI. The planning step actually for some complex goals where engineers are not sure, they have to submit that as part of the solution design. If this is the solution design, this is the cursor demand, and that gets reviewed alongside the solution design and will make sense.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, we just got our soundbite for the day. The thinking portion has not been replaced by AI. So thank you for that. That's one of the big takeaways. I think we've got time for one more quick question because one more just popped up. So if you had to pick one strategic AI initiative to prioritize in 2026, what would that be? Start with you, Armenak, this time.
So I say we started it in late 2025 and we will continue it in 2026. And I advise everyone to do it is build a reliable reasoning layer. So we created a reasoning agent because we started seeing various different workflows and capabilities with various different customers and users. And we're like, okay, this is not sustainable to build this tailored thing to just this one person. So we created a reasoning agent that actually transforms whatever workflow a user wants into a code that is generated on the fly, validated, secured, of course, that is going to be executed in order to keep that reliable, traceable output. So invest in that. And if you look today, the 800 million people use ChatGPT. The very basic thing is just the text box.
Yeah,
it doesn't even tell you what to can do a lot.
Mm-hmm. Reliable reasoning agent. Thank you, Gustaf.
Yeah, so I would say that what we're looking into a lot is trying to build a centralized memory storage for all our internal knowledge, and that is continuously building as we're interacting with the different models, connecting that with MCP to the different tools we're actually using in day-to-day, where it can both retrieve and post updates to it. Because as new tools will arise all the time in the future, and maybe there's a new cursor next year or whatever, being able to have and own that memory and that data center, so to say, and switch that between the UI or the tool you're using, that specific case, is super important, I'd say, because the capabilities of the models are so much better if you can provide it with good data and internal company data, so you don't have that cold start problem every time you bring up a new chat.
That's awesome. These are pretty good takeaways as it is, but I'm going to ask you both for just a 20-second final takeaway for anybody who's at various different stages of their AI kind of automation implementation within their teams. I'll go with you first, Gustaf.
Sorry,
Closing remarks. closing remarks, a synopsis, one last final piece of advice, anything you would like to leave with us?
I'd say to really think through the implementation of the automation before you do it, because sometimes you can be overwhelmed or like overly excited, I was going to say, to wanting to automate something that is
Yeah.
maybe not really necessary.
Yeah. So no AI for the sake of AI.
Yeah, because as I said, complexity rises faster than the features. And that is especially true with AI written code.
Awesome. Armenak.
I'm trying to find something else because I have
Yeah, we've drained you completely. It's fantastic. We've extracted all the knowledge.
Yeah. I mean, it's really, really important that, don't force AI, and, it should come naturally. You don't necessarily need to chase the newest models. Just build systems that, you can, and your users can trust, explain, and then scale safely. So I think that's the winning combination. It's a real advantage. It's not just a chatbot, and it's not just for demos.
Amazing. Guys, I want to thank you both so much for joining, because this has been an excellent first discussion of our scaling sessions series, and hopefully everybody's learned something. We didn't get too technical. We kind of added that kind of product and operator layer. Thank you so much. No AI for the sake of AI. There's tons in there. We will be sending write-ups for all of these things. We'll be sharing the content online afterwards. And so, yeah, please do come back for all of these. We're going to be doing these sort of as a minimum once a quarter, but I think our aim is to do once every 6 weeks. So, look out for this. Follow us at the Codest, or add me on LinkedIn and add the guys on LinkedIn as well, and follow us all. And thank you so much for joining, and thank you to our guests.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, everybody.
Great to be here. Okay, take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.